What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is a series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 2. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the RAPP H, also known as the HK21. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile, and with this gun, it's going to be a 4 to 5 shot kill, and up close and personal, it's a guaranteed 4 shot kill anywhere in the body, which is really nice. And it's also worth noting, unlike the other LMGs that have separate upper torso and torso damage multipliers, this gun doesn't. It deals the same damage anywhere in the torso, and that tends to make this a bit more consistent than many of the other LMGs. On top of this, headshots are great with this gun. You definitely want to try to mix a headshot in if possible, because for up close as well as really long range gunfights, just mixing one single headshot in with body shots will reduce the number of shots to kill, which is excellent. As for a rate of fire, this is quite fast for an LMG at 800 rounds per minute, and what this means for our time to kill potential is with a 4-shot kill, we're killing in 225 milliseconds. This is the slowest time to kill in the LMG category for body shots, so it doesn't really excel in this area, but at the same time, this is still a manageable time to kill. Just for reference, this is basically the same time to kill as an M4 in the game. Now, the upside to this, though, is if you do manage to land that one single headshot mixed in with torso shots up close, we'll then be getting a 3-shot kill for a time to kill of 150 milliseconds, which is a very fast time to kill, and suddenly this becomes a lot more competitive. So if you're really trying to squeeze all the power out of this gun that you can, make sure you're mixing a headshot in up close. It will make quite a big difference. But then let's have a look at our bullet velocity, which is standard for LMGs at 700 meters per second, and that's excellent. Then let's get into our ranges, and as we can see here, our first damage range will extend out to 33 meters. This is where it's a guaranteed 4-shot kill no matter where in the body you're hitting them, and it's also the range where mixing just one headshot in with torso shots will turn this into a 3-shot kill, so that's important to note. However, the second damage range, where you do now have to make sure you're mixing torso shots in, this one will extend out to 57 meters, which is an excellent range profile. Anything beyond that, though, will be a 5-shot kill to the body, unless you can hit a headshot there, in which case you can maintain a 4-shot kill. As for hipfire, we have a standard hipfire spread for the LMG category, although with the faster fire rate of this gun, that makes it a bit more effective at hipfiring than the other LMGs in the game. So while I wouldn't necessarily recommend actively going for hipfire kills, this is generally going to feel better if you do hipfire in a pinch. After that, let's have a look at our idle sway, and as we can see here, it looks pretty standard for LMGs, and that's to say that there is a fair amount of sway here, and you may want to try to get that under control with attachments if you plan on using this at longer ranges. And then let's get into our recoil. And with this gun, there's definitely a little bit of side-to-side bounce. It starts by kicking effectively straight upwards, and then it will start cutting to the right. So with this, it's definitely helpful to focus on attachments with recoil stabilization to help with that side-to-side bounce. But outside of that, it's really not that difficult to control and predict this recoil. Now, let's move on to the handling stats for this gun, and unfortunately our aim down sight time is on the slower side, even for an LMG at 480 milliseconds. This isn't quite as slow as the RAL MG, but it is still quite slow and something you have to definitely be aware of, whereas our sprint out time is just standard for LMGs at 250 milliseconds. Then let's talk about our reload add time, which again is very slow with this gun at 5.55 seconds. And as a result, you definitely have to plan out your reloads with this gun, and I would recommend pairing this with the fast hands perk as well, so you can speed that up pretty significantly. And then finally, for the base stats of this gun, let's have a look at our mobility, and across the board, this gun is effectively right around average for an LMG, maybe a little bit below average, but none of these movement speeds really stand out in any direction. And with that, it's time to move into the unique attachments for this gun, and we're going to start this off with barrels and how they impact our ranges. And as we can see here, only one of the barrels will increase our ranges. This is the first one, that Romeo FT 16-inch barrel, whereas all of the other barrels will reduce our ranges to varying degrees. Then taking a look at recoil, we can see there's only one barrel that seems to noticeably improve recoil, and that is that 16-inch Romeo barrel. Whereas the Mir 76 and the Lockman Nova both seem to be harming our recoil, whereas the Lock Strike barrel doesn't affect our recoil at all, which is nice to see, because it also helps with our aim down sight speed. As we can see there, with that Lock Strike barrel, our aim down sight speed is now 450 milliseconds, which is great considering this doesn't also harm our recoil. Whereas it is also worth noting that 16-inch barrel, while it's great for range and recoil, it's not so great for aim down sight time. It does slow it down by quite a noticeable margin here. And then finally, we do have one magazine attachment we can use here as well. This is a 100 round mag, and with this, it slows our aim down sight speed down to 520 milliseconds, which is definitely very noticeably slower than the base. And generally speaking, unless I'm using a class setup to take down streaks, I'm probably not going to want to sacrifice that much aim down sight speed just for an extra 25 rounds in a mag. And that right there wraps it up for all of the important stats I wanted to cover. Now let's get into some great attachment combinations for you guys. And the first one I wanted to share is my all-around build. And with this one, we're using the 10.6-inch lock strike barrel. This is the one that helps very noticeably with our aim down sight speed without harming our recoil at all, and with only a 10% reduction to our range, which is not that bad for this gun. We've also got the second tread 40 muzzle, the phase 3 grip. That combination seemed to be the best for this gun for recoil. We've got the OLEV laser and the Mirror Recoil 56 factory stock. With all of this combined, I managed to keep our aim down sight time very similar to the base aim down sight time. It's technically improved by about 5 milliseconds. And our sprint out time is also improved a little bit with this. And to top that off, I managed to improve the recoil quite noticeably with this particular setup. It's quite accurate, although you are limited to using iron sights here, but I kind of like the iron sights on this gun, so that's not a really big issue. And when you take everything into account, this just creates a nice balanced build where our handling isn't destroyed, and yet we're still managing to very noticeably improve the recoil. As for the second build that I wanted to share for you guys, this one's more for like longer ranges. This is my accuracy build. And with this one, we're once again using that combination of the second tread 40 and the phase 3 grip. Once again, we're using the same stock as well. This seems to be quite a good stock for recoil. And then we're just using a Slimline Pro optic and the OLEV laser. And with this particular build, our aim down sight speed is a little bit slower than base, and therefore you are really going to be limiting your ability to be aggressive with this. But that's okay, this one's designed for hanging back and picking people off. So more importantly, our recoil with this is excellent. It's definitely kept in check quite a bit. There is a little bit of acceleration for the first few shots fired, but nothing too crazy. As long as you're ready for that, you should be able to compensate pretty easily. And this is just a great traditional LMG setup where you're just locking down lanes and long lines of sight. And with that, that's gonna wrap it up today's gun guide on the RAPP H LMG. As for my thoughts on this gun, I don't hate it, but at the same time, I don't really love it. I don't really see it as a standout LMG, and it just would never be my first choice if I'm looking to use an LMG. At the same time, I still generally perform just fine with it, so I don't think it's horrible by any means. It just doesn't really stand out to me, aside from shooting down streaks. That is one thing I haven't mentioned yet. If you pop that 100 round mag on this, as well as either incendiary or armor piercing ammo, you can take streaks down really, really effectively with this. So for a dedicated class setup like that, the RAPP H is great. Outside of that though, I feel like it's just kind of a middle of the road gun. Now, of course, that is just my opinion on this gun, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about it in the comments down below. And also, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes, we've now covered all of the LMGs, assault rifles, and SMGs. I will leave a link to the playlist in the description down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.